Shalom everyone, Yoel here again from Hebrew in Israel, another video. Today I want to talk about the issue of conversion. A lot of people ask questions about this. What exactly is conversion? What does it exactly mean? How do we see conversion? And I actually spoken about this quite a few times on different podcasts that I've done with Jeff Gilbert and with Jonah Vandor. And you know, people contact me about this sometimes. I also see people posting about them going to conversion. What are the different types of conversion? First of all, what exactly is conversion? Conversion is basically, if you look at the way people used to behave in the past, nations were very, very important. You did not necessarily belong to the human race. You belonged to your specific nation, which meant you also have your national god. So conversion was essentially saying that you are no longer affiliated with your family, with your tribe, with your nation, and with your God, and you're switching to something else which completely replaces everything that you've been involved in up to now. Now, it doesn't mean you completely sever your family relations, but anyone, for example, that has changed their faith to some degree does go through a lot of trouble with their family regarding these types of things that can be highly criticized by their family. So that's basically what conversion is. Now, is there a specific ceremony of conversion? The answer is no, but there is an obligation that when someone wants to convert to become an Israelite, they have to go through the Passover sacrifice, which is it's a reenactment of the birth of Israel. So when you go through the reenactment, you actually are being reborn into a different nation. So that seems to be the actual Torah commandment of what conversion actually is. Then we also have the story of Ruth. She says, you know, my nation is your nation, your God is my God. Wherever you will live, I will live, and where you die, I'll also die and be buried there as well. In other words, loyalty to God and loyalty to the nation. Okay, and those are really the main points of conversion itself. Now, in Judaism itself, conversion became a lot more complex. Now, why was this done? It was done because of a certain situation that developed in the end of the Second Temple period and first and second centuries, maybe even third century, of a lot of half converts. You know, first of all, you know, what does it mean a half convert? These were people that kind of practiced Torah. They probably accepted the God of Israel, but they didn't necessarily leave everything that they practiced beforehand. So there were severe laws developed to try to prevent this reality. Because, for example, again, what is the purpose of conversion? The purpose of conversion is loyalty to God, His Torah, and His people. But if you're trying to live a dual life where you're here and there, very similar but a little different to the story of Eliyahu and Israel on Mount Carmel, you're trying to jump on the two rocks. You can't really, you're not here nor there. So it's a bit of a problem. So they decided to create more and more strict ways of, you know, of making people convert. And it lost some of what it actually meant, because then it became a very, very rigorous study of law and practice and custom, and it takes a very, very long time. Now, there are three types of conversions that exist at the moment. There is a Reform conversion, a Conservative conversion, and an Orthodox conversion. Orthodox conversion takes 2 years. It's a lot more complex. There's a lot of details to study. Conservative and Reform cut down a lot of what has to be done. The problem is that some people send me emails about the issue of Reform conversion. Reform conversion is very, very problematic. First of all, because they don't really expect it to do anything. Okay, I actually have relatives who are Reformed. I know that it varies because it's a very, very open movement, but at the end of the day, Reform movement does represent something which can sometimes be anti-Torah. As uncomfortable as it sounds, it is a reality. But the problem is that they're everywhere, especially in the United States. So they are the most comfortable and easiest place to approach because they're a lot more open and they are looking for people to join the congregation. In Judaism, we're not missionaries. There wasn't an issue of going around trying to convince people to convert to Judaism, and this is why Orthodox is a little bit more closed, because we're not, Orthodox Jews are not really there to try to convince you to join us. So it's a little bit more closed, a bit more complex. However, the Reform movement is very, very problematic. You can actually look at the Reform Charter and see what they actually believe in. There is stuff which is completely anti-Torah. Conservative are a breakoff from the Reform movement, and they basically, the rabbi of the congregation has a free hand to decide what they want to do. And the Sundays of conversion is very, very similar to Orthodox. Sundays of conversion is very, very different. and it varies from each place, and you have to ask about what exactly they do, what the program is, and how exactly conversion works. However, what exactly are the Torah steps of conversion? So we have loyalty, we have Passover sacrifice, we also have circumcision for men, and basically from that point on, the person is considered to be an Israelite. However, we do see in the biblical text two more terms, which are ger, and there's toshav. Okay, ger is today used to describe someone who actually converted, but in biblical Hebrew, ger is from the root gal, which is someone who dwells with you, but it never really went through the full process of conversion. Toshav is a full pagan, is a person who is not an Israelite, who has not converted and probably doesn't even keep Torah whatsoever, but he is, for example, like a Phoenician worker that came to work on King Solomon's palace or the temple, or someone who's a merchant and he's dwelling with you for a while. But this is not necessarily a person who is following Torah and is with you on your beliefs. He's just here as a foreigner. So using the word ger to describe someone as a convert is actually completely incorrect, because the moment someone has converted, someone has decided to join Torah, and I'm not going to even use Judaism from this point on, but has decided to join the people of Israel and join Torah, they're not referred to as ger, they're referred to as an Israelite. It says on the Passover, it says, Vaya ke ezrach haaretz, and the kaf there is in many cases misunderstood to mean kaf of likeness, when it's really kaf of actually being that thing, not likeness, but of comparative as 100%. In other words, when someone goes through the Passover, they're no longer a ger. That's the first stage. They actually start off as a toshav. They become a ger when they accept Torah, and then they become an Israelite when they actually go through the full conversion. So, I don't know if I've covered the questions most people have, but I do want to put out a warning that you need to understand that when you go through a Reform conversion or conservative conversion, it's not necessarily accepted by everyone. A lot of people want to go through conversion to be able to come to live in Israel, and I'm telling you, it won't be accepted, because the system here recognizes only Orthodox conversions. So again, if anyone wants to communicate with me about topics that have to do with Torah, have to do with Hebrew, I have a Facebook page, Hebrew in Israel, and I also have an email, Hebrew in Israel, one word, no capitals, @gmail.com. And I won't be surprised if, for example, someone will stand up and say, "Oh, Yoel, you're allowing certain people into the Jewish world with no authority." And I said, I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is I'm allowing people to have freedom and access to information. And if people want to go through a conversion, they have to communicate with someone who actually has authority